Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy. This episode is finishing up the draft preview series for the NFC East. We are focusing on the Washington Redskins here. So if you've not seen one of these before, what I'm going to do is give you my first round mock pick for the team, go over what I believe the team needs are heading into the draft and after free agency, and then offering up players who would fit those needs and should or could well be available for them in those first 3 rounds to take if the Redskins so desire. So the needs I had going into free agency, and to be honest they've not really changed, the inside linebacker spot, the safety spot and the defensive line spot. I think offensively, they've got worse through the receivers leaving, but still think at this point, as long as Cousins is there, it's the strength of the team. They could do with some more offensive line depth. But this defence, especially up the middle, looks poor, especially in the wake of Chris Baker's departure. So, and I do know they signed Zach Brown this week, so inside backer may not be the biggest need at this point. I should possibly just make that linebacker because I do feel they could do with a upgrade across from Ryan Kerrigan and get a really good pairing going there. Defensive line and safety are the 2 spots that absolutely stand out to me though, and they must look to address. In the first round, I've currently got them selecting Jabril Peppers, the safety. In the NFL he'd be a safety, but I guess he could be a safety linebacker hybrid. We are seeing if that's sort of in vogue in the league at the moment. I personally really rate Peppers. I get that he's a tough evaluation. You don't see too many plays in pass coverage, for example, but I do think you see an athletic, gifted player who's clearly willing to do whatever the coaches ask of him. Maybe a bit of a developmental prospect in terms of the coverage ability, which you don't necessarily want in round 1, especially from a safety, but I think he's got a lot of ability, and with the top safeties off the board, I think he represents intriguing value for the Redskins at 17. Other options they could consider, if Reuben Foster falls to them, then that's the pick. I think absolutely that would be where the slide would end for him. It's tough for them in terms of the defensive line. There's no outstanding prospects that are likely to be there for them at that time. The top guys sort of all have question marks to them, so I can't see them happening. I could see if Forrest Lamp's there, I think he'd be a consideration. I think when they selected Scherf a few years ago, they are willing to take linemen high. I think Lamp is a really good player, and I think he's going to be quite high on teams' boards. I think he'll be a consideration. I'm not sure if they want to go with one of the other linebackers, whether it's Zach Cunningham or Jared Davis. There'd be options, but I think they'd rather hope they fall to them in round 2, and Peppers is someone who's not going to be available for them there. So in the second and third, I've got a fair few players that I can see them looking at. As I say, I don't think in terms of the interior linemen there's a huge amount of options. In round 2 though, I could see Malik McDowell or Caleb Brantley, probably the 2 most talented defence tackles in the draft, but they've both got some question marks. I could see either one of them potentially being selected if they're available. I think they'd offer a good upside for a second round pick for this team. In terms of the safeties, Buda Baker, Marcus Williams and Josh Jones, guys I'd expect to see going in the second. Any one of them would be reasonable. Personally, I really like Buda Baker on tape. I think he'd be a great selection. Any of the backers I mentioned previously, if they fall to them in round 2, I think they'd snap them up, Cunningham or Davis in particular. Sort of in the third round, there's a few more options. Again, a lot of safeties in this class. That's a big boon for them. Potentially Duke Riley, Raekwon McMillan, who again I mentioned a lot. A lot of the teams I've gone through so far have very similar needs, so I'm saying a lot of the same names. Marcus May, Larry Ogunboji is a really big athletic tackle, could develop into a really good player. Could see them possibly taking a flyer on him in round 3, probably not in round 2. That would probably be a bit of an overdraft. Marcus May, the safety. These are all needs I can see them, positions I can see them looking to address. Fortunately, the safety class is deep, which is why I don't necessarily feel great about mocking Peppers to them in the first. It just seems like a move they'd make. It would fill a need, and I really, really rate him. And I just, for some reason, have a feeling that that's where he's going to go, unless, as I say, Foster is available. But I think that slide isn't going to happen, and if it does, it's not going to be as pronounced as people think. He is a real top talent, I think, Mr. Foster. I couldn't see him. Honestly, I think Philadelphia is the absolute low end of where Reuben Foster ends up being taken in this draft. So, yeah, that's the Redskins. I think they really need to try and have a good draft to match last year's record and possibly push into the playoffs, because I do think the Eagles look like they're going to be better next season. The Giants have been quite aggressive. The Redskins, if there's one team that feels like it's made a move backwards in this division, it's them. So they're desperately in need of a good draft, especially with all the stuff that went on with Scott McCloughan. It could potentially be an ugly situation. So what do you guys think? Do you agree in terms of the needs, some of the players I've suggested? Is there anyone you'd like to see them particularly pick up at a specific point? Let me know, whether it's the comments below the Cover Zero Facebook page, or find me on Twitter at Simon Conboy. I will get back to absolutely everyone, if possible, who does get in contact with me. If you enjoyed the video, please check out some more of them. We've done a fair few series at this point. The franchise and draft review series I think was really good. Check those out. We've got a mock draft coming tomorrow. I'm not sure whether I'm going to redo round 1. I'm currently sort of tweaking it, and I'm just not sure if it's worth it. I might do round 2, possibly round 3 tomorrow, and then reevaluate them all next week. I think that may make for better viewing, so I'm probably going to do that. I think I've just talked myself into it. So check that episode out. As always, if you could like, share, subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Check out the Patreon and all that good stuff. Be thoroughly appreciative. Pleasure as always. Looking forward to the draft, and as always, go Bucks.